Hi, everyone. This is GLISA, and this is Allison. I'm president, and I'm having the wonderful opportunity of interviewing from Town Public Library, April Zuniga.
Hi, hey everyone.
Yeah, we got a studios. Cool. So
Nice.
yeah, our webinar has officially started. Sorry for the delay. There's always this weird delay with the computer. I don't know why, but technology.
Yeah, today's a weird day. It's like everything was going slow. My laptop too. I was like, wait, I gotta get on.
I know it's like revenge against the machinery, but machines against humanity, basically.
Right?
But no Keanu Reeves, alas. But anyway,
Mm.
so I got some questions that our members had sent us, and I figured that
Oh,
yeah, we could wrap up around, it is 6:32. We could wrap up around 7, maybe a little before that. I'm just gonna
all
go
right.
through some different questions, and you can give us our best answers. And
Awesome. Let's go for it.
awesome. So the first question, this is a bit of an icebreaker. What is your unpopular book opinion?
My unpopular book opinion. um, oh man. Well, I don't even know if it's like an unpopular book opinion anymore.
Mhm.
Um, I don't like Twilight. I think I say it to my teens, but it's because I know it's a very unpopular book opinion to my teens. But yeah, I can't.
You know, it's okay. I think, yeah, it came around when I was in middle school, and I think more people were more open about not being a fan around high school. And then I think that's normal. I feel like it's a either you love it or hate it kind of book. Sort of like what's that book?
uh,
Catcher in the Rye. I've
uh-huh.
never met someone that's been in the middle. It's always like, I love this book. It has changed my life. Or I despise this book and everything it stands for. And
And you see, I don't know if it's more because of the movies. Because when I read the book initially, and this was when I was like way younger, I liked it. But then I don't know, when the movie franchise came out, like for some reason, I couldn't. I was like, oh no, you know. So it changed. It changed along the way.
yeah, I think it's one of those books too where like you kind of feel different about it when you're older. It's sort of like when
Yeah.
like I love the Babysitter's Club, but when I was rereading the books, I was like, oh my god, these children.
Yes, exactly.
I still love the series, but it's like you realize that these are 13-year-olds, and you're like, why are you thinking about this? Study. Yeah.
And it changes, right? It changes with the times. Like, 2020 is way different than when whatever year it was when it came out. It's so
Yeah,
different now.
absolutely. I guess our the next question we have is, did you ever plan on becoming a teen services supervisor, or was it something that you got interested in as you worked as a librarian?
That's a good question. Yeah. So, no, it definitely was not something that I planned, or that I was like even interested in. To be honest, I was a little intimidated by teens. My focus was always children's. I wanted to be a bilingual elementary teacher, actually. That's what I went to school for. I graduated with that, and I moved to Houston to go try and get a teaching position. And it was just I guess teaching just wasn't in the cards for me. I would have liked to, but sometimes things in your life happen for a reason. And so I ended up at a library, just regular circulation. And then because I just loved working with children, I started helping the children's librarian. So I got really hyper focused on like children's programming. So I did that a lot. And when I used to work in the library in Houston, um, there was there's a lot of children's programming, but not too much teen programming. And I remember there was this one library in particular where after school, like the whole library would be full of teens. And it was like this whole thing where like all the staff had to go out there and they had to kind of like stand guard. Like there was always like, oh, okay, here come the teens. We got to get ready. But it was more like, it was like, oh, here come the teens. It wasn't something positive. So, and it was really sad. And at the time, I was more focused with children. So at the time, it was really intimidating because all these teens, like crowds and crowds of teens. So it wasn't really an interest. And then I kind of got catapulted into teen services, kind of out of nowhere. And when I moved back down here and at the library in McAllen, and it was just a whole different experience, and it wasn't as intimidating as I thought, and I just fell in love with it. Like, it's so amazing. Young people are so smart, and they're so creative, and I just fell in love. Like, I always thought, I was like, children's for life, I'm not gonna stray from children's. This is where I'm gonna be. But for some reason, I just fell in love with teen services, and then of course became supervisor, and that's where I'm at right now, and I love it. I wouldn't trade it. It's awesome.
I'm really glad to hear that. I mean, I think in the earlier years, I think people had a lot of misconceptions with teens.
Oh yeah. Especially when you see like a horde of teens coming into your library really loud and kind of horse playing, and your first immediate thought is like you want to roll your eyes so far back on your head, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I think, yeah, like, and I forgot to mention to anyone's watching, you're welcome to drop in any comments with your own questions. We're not just gonna follow along with my questions, so you have any, I'm gonna definitely put them up here, like so, and we can answer them.
cool.
But, yeah. So our next question is, what did you learn on the job that you didn't know about in library school?
Oh my goodness, that is a great question because I think any librarian can agree that what you learn, like 90% of the things that you will learn will be on the job. Like, you get a lot of background about librarianship in school, and it's super important to learn that, but a lot of things will just kind of come your way on the job. So, and I think our job is really special in the way that we're kind of like a jack of all trades. We're not necessarily super focused on just one thing. You kind of have to know a lot of different things. Like, for example, when I started in the teen department, I had to learn how to make movies because we had a film club for teens where I had to teach them how to use filming equipment and how to use boom mics and how to edit and how to do all these things. I didn't learn that in library school, but I had to learn that for work. And that's just like one example of how many other things you have to learn. And I think it's amazing because as a librarian, you just, we're experts in knowledge. Like, we get to research and we get to learn, and it's consistently learning different things, and we get to share that with others, and which is why I think librarianship is so special, because it's not just one thing. It's not just books. It's not just learning about the children's collection and like award winners and authors. It's much more. And so that's why I feel like you do learn a lot in library school. You learn like a lot of the background and what what you need, like, to research and all these things. That's super important. But a lot of the stuff that you're going to learn is going to be on the job, that you just come up so unexpectedly. You're like, well, I'm going to need to learn the software. I've never done it before, but here we go. and then it's amazing, you know. It's so cool. Like I think that's one of my favorite parts about librarianship is how much you learn on the job.
Yeah, it's really unpredictable, I guess you could say. You know, I don't mean that in the best affectionate way ever. There's something I ended up talking about I never thought I would talk about. Like I did a program on true crime, and
Yeah.
so if someone asked me, oh, actually, we have a question right here. Let me go ahead.
Oh, okay.
All right. Does your library host teen makerspace events?
That yes, we totally do. So it is a little different now. So pre-COVID, of course, we were meeting in person, and every month we plan and develop different activities for our teens. And so a lot of that included science, technology, engineering. We really wanted to go the STEM route, and well, more STEAM because we do a lot of art things also. So we didn't have it wasn't like a regular makerspace where we had an individual room where we could have all our things. We were kind of limited in space in that, but we made a makerspace program. So every week we would host something different, you know, like how to engineer a tower out of toothpicks and marshmallows, or how to make I think they're called, I always forget the name. It's like they're called bristlebots. So how to make a mini robot using a toothbrush head and a motor. So when we were meeting, we would do those things where we would get the supplies and we would let teens explore and kind of figure out how to make this work. How does this work? And I miss those times because, you know, we got to really talk with our teens and spend time with them, and they loved creating. So now during COVID, we do something similar, but we actually have what's called buzz kits. And so in each of those kits, we provide 3 to 4 different activities that they can do from home. So they just come pick it up at the library and they can take it home, and it's free. And we put out a new one with a different theme every 2 weeks. And it's been going really well. I think teens right now, they're so, you know, overwhelmed with having to do schooling from home, and it's a totally different environment now. But as a library, still being able to provide that to teens is really, really cool. So I'm glad we were still able to do that during COVID.
Awesome. That was a really good question. So our next question is, has there ever been a patron interaction that stayed with you the most?
Oh yes, there's been a lot. I think one of the, and I always bring this up because I always remember it, and it's like my favorite reference question that I've ever been asked. Which is another thing too, you have to learn on the job, is how to answer some really, you know, not common reference questions. But one of the best patron interactions I had was I got a phone call, and it was a gentleman, and he sounded like an older gentleman. He sounded like an older man, and he asks, yes, I want to know where can I buy a time machine? And my initial thing was like, is this a prank? Like, is somebody calling to just mess with me? Like, really? But he sounded very serious, and he was an older gentleman, and he sounded very serious. So I didn't want to make the mistake of like laughing it off, because, you know, I could have possibly offend somebody, and if they're genuinely asking, you know, I wasn't going to be the person to crush their dreams. So what I kind of said, you know what, Sarah, let me look into that for you. And I kind of put it on hold, and I was like, what should I say? Should I just say, well, those don't exist? Or so, because he was so serious, and I didn't want to be the one to be like, well, sir, those aren't real, you know. So I basically just answered, I, you know, got it off of hold, and I answered, you know what, sir, I'm so sorry, those aren't in production yet, but, you know, we can keep checking later, maybe in a few years, you know. So I had to just kind of say it in a way that, you know, wasn't gonna like crush him, but also let him know, like, you know, we don't have those yet, but I'm sure in a few years. So I think that's the one that sticks out in my head the most, being asked that question.
I
Where can I buy a time machine?
I keep having this image of the Back to the Future, that old man, Doc, or I think he's called.
Oh yeah.
I imagine that was him on the other end of the line.
I know.
But yeah, that's. So our next question is: were there aspects of the job that you had not expected?
Yeah, I think, well, I guess in terms of working with teens, one of the things that I didn't expect was, I think when you think of teens, you think of, they kind of want their own space. Like they don't want you to, talk to them. They kind of just want to be them and do what they want to do. But one of the things I didn't expect was how open teens were and how willing they were to really express themselves to adults, like how they want to share so much. And I didn't expect that from teens. Like I said, I kind of had this, preconceived notion that teens were more to themselves, like, don't bother me. But I think that's one of the most surprising and also the most rewarding is they want to talk to you. They want you to get to know them. They want to share their likes, their dislikes. They want to talk about their day. They want to talk about what happened at school or what drama is going on at school. I think that's one of the best things in the teen department that I've realized is how open teens are and how much they like to share.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. Like, and I'm realizing that if they keep to themselves, it's because they're very shy. But then there's times where I've talked to teenage patrons and they just, after a while, they're like, they just open up and they just keep talking to you like, this is.
Yes. You hit that one thing that they're interested in and you have a friend for life. You both, love Iron Man or Captain America. Like, oh my gosh, yes. And you're going to have that person as a regular patron forever.
Yes. And our next question is, do you think YA literature is going to be different a few years from now?
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely. I think we've seen YA literature really grow in different areas. I think right now we're seeing more of, characters in YA literature being able to be the protagonist, and they have they have disabilities, but they're like, it's telling their story. We're diversifying different voices now. It's not just a one track thing. Like everybody's able to really raise their voice in YA literature, and that's a huge thing right now. Being able to diversify that and to express that in books, and being able to share that with others, with different communities, with different cultures. I think that's amazing, and I think it's just going to get better and better. But definitely, for sure, I think that it's going to be another change in another 5 to 10 years. It's just going to keep developing and growing. So definitely.
Yeah, there's some books that I've seen at the teen department that I'm like, wow, I wish I had that when I was 15.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Because sometimes you want to see yourself reflected in those stories. You don't want to just read about things that you can't really relate to or connect to, and it's great to see that. I read by Erica Sanchez, what's it called? Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter. Mm-hmm. I probably butchered that title. I probably said it totally wrong.
Right.
But when I read that book, I was like, oh my gosh, like a lot of her experiences were things that I experienced when I was growing up, having the family in Mexico and going during the summers, and just, those two cultures, but being born here and growing up here and then having your family. So sharing that culture, I loved it because I was like, oh my gosh, like I did that too, when I was growing up. That's what we would do, and so it's awesome. And the fact that young people get to see that reflected in literature today is really amazing.
I've read another of that author's books. She's a really good writer, and I don't remember what it was, but it did deal with about being in a border town, and I'm like, yes.
Yeah. Exactly. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, so our next question, it's a little related. This question is, what YA book has impacted you the most?
Oh, wow. That one's kind of difficult. I mean, the first one that comes to mind is that one, the I'm Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter. And oh man, this just shows how long ago I've read a YA a YA book. But I think I would have to say that one for sure. I think that's one of the first books that I've read that and that's because I'm like 33 years old and I finally read a book that I actually could relate to, you know. So I think that one definitely.
Yeah, well, I do recommend that book to anyone else that's watching us. It's a really good book.
Yes, I love it. It's so good.
All right, and our next question is, okay, this one might be hard to answer, but it is, what has been your favorite program that you've implemented at the library?
Ooh, oh, there's so many, but I would have to say it's a series that we started called 14s by Teens. And basically it kind of, so in a library, you know, you usually, if you're working in children's or teens or adults, you usually, as a librarian, you implement the program, you come up with the idea, you know, take all the necessary steps to gather materials, make a proposal, put the program together, and then promote the program, and then invite people to come to your program, right? So the 14s by Teen series is that. However, it's actually putting the teen in that lead role. So let's say a teen is like loves to draw or loves art or loves to knit. You know, we ask them, hey, like, would you ever like to show other teens how to do that? And basically, we kind of ask them if they want to lead a program, so to show their peers, and it fosters leadership, it fosters you know, work experience, and it just, you know, fosters confidence, just being able to share something you love to do with other teens. And I think that's one of my favorite that we've implemented, because since we've done it a few years back, we've had over like 30 different programs from different teens that want to, oh miss, can I show teens how to make Japanese candy. And this teen, he knows how to make Japanese hard candy, and he's like, can I do that? Like, can I show other teens about it? And like I said, they love to share, and we had a program where he led it. We were there to basically be like a mentor, like, okay, sure, okay, so what's your idea, what do you want to how do you see this program going? And we would, you know, supply the materials, we would promote it for them, but they were the ones in the lead, they were the ones coming up with the idea of the program and how they wanted to do it and what they wanted to do. So we were just kind of helping guide them through the process. And then the day of the program, we would be there with them, but as support. So it was really the teen leading everything, but we would be there to kind of guide and mentor them. And it's so amazing. We've had a teen fashion show. One of our teens did a whole fashion show where he made the costumes, he got the models. You know, it's just so incredible when you foster that type of environment for teens, how much how much creativity they have. Like, they surprise you. You're just like, oh my gosh, that's incredible. Like, I can't believe that, you know, a 15-year-old, a 16-year-old, you know, knows how to do all these things, and they're willing to share. We've had knitting programs or crochet programs where teens show other teens how to crochet, and so I think that has to be like one of my favorites.
Awesome. Yeah, like actually that kind of goes into my next question. Like, have you seen any of your teens complete leadership opportunities at the library and then go on to do something great?
Yes, for sure. We had actually one of our very first teens that we had. It all started actually with this one teen. He wanted to do a financial literacy class for other teens because he said, sometimes teens don't realize, what college is like, or how to budget, or how to save money, or how, what are things that they can buy when they go to college that make it easier on their budget, things like that. And I was really surprised. He was a very smart young man. And so he's actually the very first teen that we ever did that with, because the first initial thought was like, oh, I don't know if teens are going to want to sit during a whole session on, saving money. I don't know how that's going to work, but we kind of helped him adjust what he wanted to do, and he did it. And we had his first session had about 20 teens.
Oh.
And I was just like, wow, like that is incredible, and so he did that for a few years, and then he actually graduated high school and went off to it was a very prestigious business school, and he still, I think he actually already graduated from that. So I was just like, wow, like that's amazing.
Oh my God, my heart is like.
Yes, I was just like, wow, like he was the one teen that started it all.
Yeah, so okay, I think we're going to be wrapping up soon, but what are some tips for building connections with teens?
One of the things that I always tell librarians when I get asked this question is you need to get to know them. You need to learn their names. It's not just kind of like, yeah, okay, you need this book, sure, let me, here's your book, thank you, bye. To make a connection with teens, you really need to get to know them, want to get to know them, and be sincere about getting to know them, because they can tell right away if you're not being sincere, or if you're just kind of going with the flow. They will automatically pick up on that. And talk about interests that, ask about their interests. And just, we had it's called a community sketchbook. This was, of course, pre-COVID. We had a community sketchbook at our desk, our information desk for teens. And a lot of teens would stop by to look at it or to draw in it. So teens could come by and they can draw a sketch. If they like art, they can like leave a sketch on a page. That's why it was a community sketchbook. And so anytime a teen would stop by to draw something, we'd always be like, oh, hey, cool, you like to draw, awesome. What kind of things do you like to draw? Oh, anime, awesome, that's so awesome. And it started from there. And then that conversation would build, and we would ask them their name. And then from there, whenever they came back, hey, Joshua, how's it going? How was school today? How was everything? Oh, cool. So are you drawing anymore? You remember those details that they tell you, because then they know that you care. And I think one of these examples is I had a teen come by and we had that conversation, and he left, and then he came back. He didn't come back for like a really long time, but he came back, and I remembered him, and I was like, hey, Andres, how's it going? And he looked at me kind of weird. He's like, you remember me? I was like, I do. How are you? He was so shocked that I had remembered his name, and that I had remembered the things that he had told me about how he liked to, draw and all these things. And so it was, they notice. And I think if you are working with teens, that is one of the most important things that you could do to make a connection, is know their name, know their interests, make an effort.
Yeah, don't have any preconceived notions.
No, definitely. You always give teens, an opportunity. Don't ever automatically think that if they come in too loud into your department, they're going to be troublemakers. Yeah. Or, we tend to forget that as young, as we were teens once, and we were there. We used to those loud teens that would come into a library or at school,
I will tell you that if I when I was a teen and I was into anime, it would have been really cool to have talked to an adult like that. So
Yeah, exactly. Because it's the least person that you ever expect them to open up to is an adult. And the fact that they want to, I mean, just tells you volumes, you know? So,
okay, let's see, I have 2 more questions. I think we're going to be done. And like I said, if anyone has any comments, I'll post them. Just be sure to let me know, and we'll try to answer them as much as we can.
awesome.
Okay. All right. So how do you stay current with trends among teens?
Well, one of the things we do is we're part of YALSA, the Young Adult Library Association. And I mean, it's a really great resource. There are different branches. There's one for children. So the American Library Association has all of these different branches that you can be a part of, you can be a member of. And so that is where you're going to get so many of your resources to always see what's happening, what kind of events are coming up to celebrate in your library for your teens, any like advocacy, new YA or the different trends in UYA. So all of those things, I would highly recommend YALSA from the American Library Association, for sure.
Awesome. And do you have any journals, blogs, or websites for those interested in teen programs or librarianship?
Yeah, well, so I can definitely direct you to our teen page at mcallenlibrary.net. If you click on our teen page, you'll see pretty much everything that we do for our teen department. There's also a special page for those buzz kits that were the take-home makerspaces. You'll see some of the films that teens have made for that film club that I think I had mentioned earlier. So yeah, no, mcallenlibrary.net, and you can access you can just go to our teen page. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and you can get some ideas if you want to do them at your library, or if you're thinking about going into teen services, after you graduate and after you get your librarianship. I mean, there's so many groups out there that you can join too to see what other libraries are doing around the country. So for sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, April. I think now we can wrap up. And like I said, if anyone has any questions, speak now or forever hold your peace.
Okay. And thank you so much for inviting me. This was so much fun. The time flew by. It flew by so much. So
I want to talk more, but I think I think it's Friday night. I don't want to hold you up too much.
But thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
All right. Anyway, thank you, April, for joining us. And like she mentioned, you can find her at mcallenlibrary.net. The team page is very active, and if you have any questions, feel free to let me know, and I'll go ahead and ask April. She really knows.
Thank you. All right. Bye.